gentlemen, from the Microsoft Theater here in downtown Los Angeles, brought to you by Shawn Porter Promotions.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the PorterWay Podcast. We are live today at home. I hate when we're not able to get into the studio. I feel like it just everything is better when we're in the studio. What's happening, Sean Z?
What's up, Sean? I like it every now and then we get a Zoom show, I like it. I get to just, get that workout in behind me and then go right into the show. I like it.
Hey, yo, people don't know you've been putting in some work.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I got to step it up some.
You've been running about 5 miles or so, like every other day for like a couple years now, right? Like at least 2 years, right?
It slowed down. The motion slowed down with my little daughter growing up and spending time with her and Raiders and anyway. But it's at least once or twice a week I'm running those 4 or 5 miles, but it has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite time to run is in the summer because you get bang for your buck. It's like put a sweater on and get your best sweat. Yeah. So
you be on your Kenny Porter type.
If I'm gonna be out there running, I want bang for my buck. I want to.
I drove past him the other day. He was on a bike. This was like 2 weeks ago. He was on a bike, and the sweats and all that kind of stuff. He's coming one way. I'm coming the other way. And as I'm driving, you're not really looking for somebody, but I happen to see a bike. And my dad has always done this. He's always biked into the traffic, not with the traffic, and that has always bothered me. I ride with the traffic. I use my signals, like I'm serious when I'm on my bike. And for me, when I see somebody who's on a bike riding into the traffic, I'm like, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So I've always looked at him like that. So the other day, this guy he's coming. I'm like, is that my dad riding with the traffic? And as I got closer to him, like now I'm going past, I'm like, I don't get a chance to roll down the window, throw up the deuces or nothing like that. And my man was like, had his sunglasses on. He looked like Blade. He was out here on his Blade nonsense the other day. I seen him about 2 weeks ago.
I'm with your pops. I usually agree with your pops. Shout out to my man.
You do, huh?
He, I always like to, if I was gonna actually when I run or I jog or I bike, I do it towards the traffic too because what if someone's swerving and driving crazy and it's to my back, I can't see them. So I want to see them coming my way. So if they're swerving or something, I could get to the sidewalk or your dad's sharp,
that's always been his thing too.
Yeah.
But what I have learned is traffic sees you and they can ride with you, opposed to if you're riding into the traffic, they don't have the same kind of timing as they do if they're riding next to you. So it kind of is what it is. But anyway,
wait, I gotta mention something for your pops.
Yeah, go ahead.
So remember, you were sparring Hendri Cedeno all those years, getting ready for the Crawford fight, and not all those years, but all those months. And Hendri, man, 16-0, 12 knockouts, and was pulling up on Keyshawn Davis at the Norfolk card, getting some buzz. So Hendri, who got his U.S. feet wet, your dad brought him from the Dominican Republic. He's starting to make some noise. So shout out to Hendri.
Yeah, shout out to Hendri. Obviously, shout out to my dad. He happened to be down there, and somebody knew that he was into boxing, and they pulled him in and took him to Hendri. And he obviously really liked what he saw in Hendri. Hendri has tremendous skills. He's obviously in tune with the promotional side of boxing, the marketing side of boxing. And I think he truly does have what it takes to be a champion. You guys remember, this was about 2 years ago. No. This was longer than that when my dad got with. My dad had Hendri turn pro. Hendri turned pro with my dad. This was 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then back then that was when I was saying, hey, watch out for these Dominican guys. I had just caught the rhythm of what was happening with these Dominican guys. I could see they have the speed, the power, and what I feel they lack is the mental toughness. And that's one thing that I would say about Hendri. Hendri, again, the whole nine, and young in 2021 when he was with my dad, the thing that was playing catch up was the mental side of things, and I think everything is starting to come together for him. So yeah, shout out to Hendri Cedeno.
Yeah, the talent was always obvious. He's a switch hitter. He could fight southpaw and orthodox, speed, creativity. and he's got a bag of tricks up his sleeve. But to your point, some of these guys from the Caribbean, Cuba, Dominican Republic, they got a lot of physical talent, but sometimes don't do the best with pressure. Sometimes they can fade in the second half of fights. But if those kinds of deficiencies could be shored up, I mean, they can still produce dominant talent, coming out of that part of the world. So, yeah, I mean, boxing would be all the more better if guys like Hendri can learn from where some of those guys fell short that preceded them. And I mean, again, the talent, the speed, the ability to box out of both stances. Hendri's got a lot of talent.
Shout out to Coach K Koroma. He trains over there at Knuckleheads Boxing Gym, which is owned by Sean Gibbons and
I
his
didn't know that.
crew.
They're getting a lot of play. A lot of guys I talk to here in Vegas. I'm at Knuckleheads. So that gym has got a
Hate
lot
it.
of momentum, it seems like.
Hate it.
Why?
When they were finishing the gym, they told me, "Hey, you ever want to go train? You got somebody you want to train? Come on over." I was able to go in there any time of the day, and I was by myself. It's packed all day, every day now, and I hate it because I liked the intimacy of me being able to just go in there, hit the bag, and not have to talk, not have to coach somebody or anything like that. And I'm not saying that to say like I ain't Coach K. I'm not telling you don't talk to me, but I liked being by myself, and I think I kind of just got used to that from doing it by myself for so long until we would have uh training partners come in with me. But the reason why I'm shouting out Coach K Koroma and the point of what you said, you were saying about some of these islanders, if they can connect the dots, right?
Hmm.
I was talking to Coach K the other day, and if you know Sean Gibbons, then you know that he has a stable full of Filipino fighters.
Yep.
And I told Coach K the other day, I said, yo, this is the next step for those Filipino fighters. They got to get with an American coach that can teach them and help them adapt and evolve. And no, that's how you connect the dots to the point of what you just said. When you come from a specific area and you've conquered that area, then it's time for you to move on to other areas. And if you aren't able to conquer those areas, you pick up the rhythm and the moves and the techniques and things of that nature of that area. And sometimes the best way to do it is to have a coach from that area bring in their specialties, i.e., me going to LA and training with Freddie. Freddie showed me some techniques and some things that took me to another level. What's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Marvin?
He came up under Eddie Futch, and
Oh,
who?
Eddie Futch. Yeah, the great
No, no,
Eddie Futch.
right,
Yep.
and then but who? Thale Torrance, excuse me, and
Yep.
Thale, I got with Thale before I got with Freddie, and Freddie showed me a lot of the techniques that Eddie Futch showed him, and then so when I got with Freddie, I wasn't foreign to the stuff that Freddie was showing me, and it was like that light bulb was coming up over my head and stuff like that a lot because Freddie was kind of like reinstilling the things that Thale had showed me years and years ago. I'm a teenager working with Thale, and it was like I had these things, but I'm still an amateur. So it's like you gotta go back to your amateur ways or whatever the case may be. But saying all that to say, Islanders, a lot like the Cuban that's working with Boots' dad now, Bozy.
Andy Cruz, right.
Andy Cruz, yeah, like probably the best move for him. I don't know for a fact that Bozy is the best move, but getting with an American coach that can really transform you. And the thing I do know about Bozy is a professional boxing coach. He's not an amateur boxing coach. Yes, his son came through the amateurs. He's had plenty of amateurs, but he has a professional mindset. His thing is based around being aggressive, getting the KO, and all that kind of stuff. So, Hafey, I want to just let you know, big dog, that I don't know if it's my phone, but it went dark on my end. Just so you know, I don't know what's going on. Uh, okay, well, all that being said, let's get to some boxing real quick.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it on track for our guy too. I'll
I
try to. Yeah.
hey, and I just want to shout out the Hall of Famers. Some I knew, some I didn't know, and to see these guys go in, they were very long-winded, and it was refreshing to see a fan this morning on the plane. And I said, man, I'm sorry everybody was so long-winded. I just thought that was the consensus of the weekend with the induction ceremony. He said, man, he said, I love that part. I said, yeah, you did. He said, I love just hearing them talk about themselves, how they got here and all that kind of stuff. I said, you know what? It is refreshing to know that while most of us were kind of twiddling our thumbs and just kind of like, wow, you guys are really, taking it all in, which is what you're supposed to do,
Yeah, that's
So,
their moment to be long-winded, and it
yeah,
sounds like you're happy to know some of the fans were hanging on their every word. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I know that some of us are just kind of like, wow, this is a little bit more than we bargained for.
But you saw Manny there, and we talked on the phone about it earlier, and I said, so did you come away thinking Manny's gonna win now? And he go, well, I've always thought Manny could win this fight against Barrios. So I actually went back after we got off the phone and I watched his exhibition against Anpo, the Japanese kickboxer from last year. If and I was with you on the phone call because I feel like Pacquiao is building up in his spirit ahead of steam heading into this Barrios fight. And I'm also concerned on Barrios' side if he's just being too respectful of Pacquiao and he's going to buy into that aura on fight night. He's going to, and I don't know if that's the right mentality. Mayweather and Bradley and Marquez and Ugas, these guys didn't feed into too much respect the way Barrios might be doing. But I say all that to say, Sean, if Manny shows up like he did in that exhibitions against Anpo, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. He better have another gear in him that he didn't show in those 3 rounds against Anpo. It just looked like an older man against a young man. Anpo isn't even a professional boxer. He was a lightweight champion in kickboxing, but just his youth alone was enough against Pacquiao. Pacquiao was having a hard time getting out of the way of shots and just didn't look good. I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
Anybody looking at that fight or that exhibition against Ampo and they're thinking, well, what's the worst version of Manny we could see? We've seen the best versions of Manny. What's the worst version of Manny we could see against Mario Barrios? And that ain't it. You're going to get a Manny Pacquiao that is fine-tuned, a Manny Pacquiao that is ready, a Manny Pacquiao that has, check this out, not been sitting down watching exhibitions and saying, I'm about to have an exhibition fight. That's what that was. That was him sitting down, sad because he hadn't been in the sport in a little while, and he saw a little opportunity for him to do something. And I'm not sure if the people around him told him that he should get ready for it, but when you're on the outside and you're looking at what's going on with these exhibitions, and it's an easy way to make money and use your image and all that kind of stuff, that's what he did. He got ready for an exhibition fight. 3 rounds. I mean, the moment I heard you say 3 rounds, I'm like, okay, yeah, Zittel, let's just keep moving past this. This is not the same thing. He knows this is a 12-round war against Azteca Mario Barrios. He's not going to come to the ring in any way, shape, form, or fashion the way that he did against Ampo. And I'm telling you right now, I promise you, if he does, I'll drop down to give you 100 push-ups straight. It ain't gonna happen. We got elite Mario Barrios. He's earned his position of being elite. He's elite. I hear what you're saying about his mentality. I just got a feeling that even though he's going through the rhythm and the routine of that's Pacquiao and I'm just Mario Barrios, I can guarantee you, I really don't think he's gonna fall into what you call the mystique. I love it. The mystique of who Manny Pacquiao is. Could he fall into it? I believe he could. But I think that would happen if 3 or 4 rounds doesn't go the way he expects them to go. But I think we got a great Manny Pacquiao coming to the ring, and I know we got a great Mario Barrios coming to the ring. People hate me when I say it's 50-50. So instead of saying 50-50 at the moment, I would say 60-40. I think Manny's going to get off to a fast start like he did against Thurman. I think this fight's going to look a lot like Thurman. I think
And you
unlike Thurman,
predicted Pacquiao would beat Thurman when most of us thought Thurman was going to win that fight against the 40-year-old Pacquiao. So you always have a good beat on Manny from
yeah.
all those years you spent with him. You seem to have a good beat on Pacquiao.
But here's the difference between Mario Barrios and Keith Thurman. Keith fights to win. Keith fights to be safe. Keith fights to outpoint, and he's very strategical. Mario Barrios fights to win and fights to win alone. So Mario, I think he knows how to keep himself safe should he get into harm's way, but he's the kind of guy that's going to go back into that fire because that's just who he is. And so when you have that kind of style, that's something that makes me feel like, hey, I really think that this is something that Pat could pull off. I know he's going to get off to an early start. He told me he was going to do that. I have no reason to not believe that.
Sean giving away the game plan on the PorterWay podcast. Some inside intel.
Come on. And this is how I was. I tell you exactly what I'm gonna do. Can you still beat it? Can you still stop it? You know what I mean?
Muhammad Ali told us what he was gonna. Fury told us in the second Wilder, I'm gonna run him over like an 18-wheeler. We thought it was a bluff, and he really did it. So
has Manny not? Have you not seen anything of Manny saying, "Hey, I know I need to start fast," or however he said it?
Oh, he's not going to tell us that. He'll tell you that, SP, fighter to fighter, those wars shared at the wild card. He's not going to tell us asshole reporters that. Of course not.
He said asshole reporters. Well, I mean, that's Manny, goddammit. So don't make me feel like I'm giving up shit.
If you know your boxing, you know that's what he's going to do.
That's what he's going to, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So Mario's got to be prepared.
Hey,
but
that's the headline.
All that being said, though, man, I just want to really salute Manny specifically, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm giving favoritism to Manny, but he was remarkable in his speech the other day. So was Vinny Paz. I mean, Vinny Pazienza is like, he's a boxing god to me. When you know his story, you know everything he's been through, and when you see him now, it's just, he is one of the best guys that I could ever know in the sport, Vinny Pazienza. And so he goes up there and he's Vinny, the character, the charisma, you know what I mean? He's shooting his shot at Mary Jo Saunders.
I'll do this for Vinny, Sean, because I know Vinny, I think it drives him nuts when we call him Pazienza because he changed it legally to Paz.
Paz, he did, huh?
So out of respect to Vinny, Vinny
Paz. Vinny Paz, excuse me. Yeah, so, and he's just being himself. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, they probably should have saved Vinny for the end. Manny, very eloquent, man. I just really want to salute Manny. He wrote his speech out in English. And we've all seen him speak English, and it's just it's like, man, you get a little bit better. You get a little bit better. Yesterday, man, I think he really he shocked the world vocally, and he's never done that before. And I just really wanted to salute Manny. I thought he did a fantastic job with his speech. I thought he said everything he needed to say, and he didn't take too much time up there either. So just wanted to salute Manny real quick.
One thing I want to commend Manny on, too, it speaks to his greatness, how nervous I am leading up to this fight, because my first impression of it was this is like when Sugar Ray came back against Camacho, and hey, maybe don't get fooled by how good he looks in the gym. Great fighters are always going to look good in the gym, even, no matter how old they get. But I want to commend him. He's always been consistent about thanking God about this miraculous journey, because his life is a miracle in a lot of sense, and he never misses a beat in always thanking his faith for that happening. So I got to commend Pacquiao for that, and also part of his highlight reel, his trailer when he announced his comeback was no limits. I hesitate to put limits on Manny Pacquiao. I think Barrios is going to win this fight, but I'm not going to lie, Sean. I'm worried about getting put on the Summer Jam screen, a highlight reel of asshole reporters doubting the great Manny Pacquiao. I'm like that. I might be that guy. Because you can never count out Pacquiao. He should lose this fight, but he's Manny Pacquiao.
This is what I'll say, and then we'll end it with this, unless you got something to say after this.
No, no, that's it.
What we say, what we always say is that what we always say is that time is undefeated. One moment. Okay, be right there. What we always say is that time is undefeated. But here's how you rewind the clock. You rewind the clock by living right. You rewind the clock by having faith. You rewind the clock by working hard and doing the right things that you have to do prior to a fight, a whatever. You get good people around you. You keep those good/great people around you. Manny's doing that. And I think when you're 46 years old and you've done everything that you have to do in life, the number one people that are around you that are going to have the biggest influence on you, that you need the best support of, which he has, family. Manny's probably in the best position he's ever been in boxing. I know that personally. I'm not going to say a whole lot, but I know that personally. So when I tell you that in some ways, Mario Barrios could be going up against the best Manny Pacquiao that there could ever be, I know everybody's like, what the hell? I just broke it down to y'all. He's doing all the right things. He's handling nutrition and all that kind of stuff. I know people get on him about PDs and all that kind of stuff. I ain't gonna get into any of that. But he's got the right people around him, and he's living right. He hasn't, you know what I mean? He hasn't blown up, and he hasn't gotten out of shape, and he kept moving and all this kind of stuff. And then on top of that, the family is strong. It's gonna be a war. If Mario Barrios weathers the early storm, it's gonna be a war. And I think Manny's strong enough to make it through that war. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
About a month ago, month and a half.
Virginia, big dog, you was there.
I wasn't.
What happened?
Once Keyshawn De Los Santos got canceled, I decided to cancel my flight. These flights cost a lot of money, the hotel rooms, all that. So, I kept.
Oh, you were going out on Saturday.
Yeah.
Smart guy. Wow.
So
you didn't really get to feel the energy that was Norfolk.
I've heard about it. I mean, so my colleagues who went to his fight against Lemos said it was crazy. Everybody that went to that fight said, he blew the roof off the joint that night. So I was looking forward to the fight, but it got canceled. So
I want you to break down real quick your thoughts on give me your thoughts on Troy Isley.
It was another close competitive fight for Troy. You could argue the other fighter won. Can't remember his name, right? Williams, I think his name was. And I caught half the fight getting home, running around with the kids. But Troy and Delante, we had Tiger on a couple weeks ago, right? They're both at a crossroads moment where Tiger looked good in his last fight, but it was back to more of the same. And you saw Coach Brewer wanting more in the corner. They got to find a way to find an extra gear in their performances because Top Rank at some point they cut bait with a fighter if they feel like long term it's not worth keeping them and investing all those resources in them. I like Troy. I like his work ethic. I like his team, but he's got to find a way to show more. And
he has to become a playmaker. Yeah. He's the guy that got picked in the third round of the draft, and now we're just waiting on you because you're on a team that is putting you on TV.
Rookie deal's almost up. That's a perfect way to put it. Right. You're a second, third round pick, and you've definitely made the team and been good. But
it's time to start making some big plays.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a good one, Sean. That's a perfect.
Yes, sir. Kelvin Davis.
Kelvin Davis in the co-main event against Nahir Albright. I think he's cutting too much weight, getting down to 140 for one. I mean, he's huge.
Agreed.
He's definitely a welterweight, and you see it there. You see it probably affect his punch resistance and the snap and the power in his own punches. He showed dog once he started getting hit with the right hand, but he just didn't have the IQ and the skill set to change the fight, change the momentum of the fight. And then by rounds 9 and 10, he clinched a lot to get to the final bell because when you have no other adjustments, the last adjustment is to turn it up. And if that when usually that leaves you at a higher chance of getting knocked out than it does you're actually going to turn the tide of the fight. Old school fighters, that's what they would do. They were like robots. Like no adjustment has worked. Only adjustment left is to turn it
Fight.
up. We'll turn it up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not even and bypass the part of their brain that goes, yeah, but if I turn it up, I'm going to get caught. Oh well. But Kelvin, before that ninth and 10th round, he tried, and Albright was just the craftier, better pro. And Kelvin had no answer for the right hand. Albright, and then after Albright rocked him a couple times in the first half of the fight, he picked his gloves up and started stepping to him. And Kelvin, he got dropped in his professional debut. He's, just mechanics wise leaves a lot to be desired, and I think you could probably explain that better than me, Sean. What'd you think of the fight?
Say that again about the last statement that you made.
Mechanics wise leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, yeah. When you don't have the mechanics, I mean, it really is clear that don't compare him to the other brothers. Just look at him by himself, and his technique just is wide. He wants to hustle, but he just doesn't have a lot of tools. And when you're as tall as he is, breaking down your body to make that weight class and all those other things, I always like to say that a tall fighter is always in jeopardy against a short fighter that has the same kind of skills that the tall fighter has. And I think that that's going to be the case with him. You match him up with guys that have skills and can get past the jab and can weave that wide right hand that he throws, and it's kind of like it's gonna be a dice game every single fight. So yeah, I didn't catch much of this fight, but I do feel like Albright clearly won the fight, and obviously we got to talk a little bit about what happened post fight.
Well,
But
just to touch on the mechanics, I mean, case in point, you look at his frame and you're like, if the mechanics are on point, he's gonna have some wiry power at the end of his shots.
Yeah.
If he could, but when the mechanics aren't all the way on point, you're not generating the kind of leverage on the punches, right, Sean? You're not getting the most out of your frame.
Right. He's not getting the most out of his frame, and it truly is just his foundation. It's how he grew up fighting. It's what he learned or lack thereof, and now it's showing. It won't show against somebody who isn't on his level, but as like I always like to say, when you put two guys against one another that at the same level, you get a really good fight, and you never know who's gonna win. And I think that that's very evident in that fight right there.
Yeah, credit to Albright, man. He showed his IQ and his craft as a savvy pro in his own right from Philly. Showed some of that Philly grit and Philly craftiness. So especially with that right hand, he couldn't miss with the right hand.
And this is what you need. You need to show up and show out on a stage like this, and that's how you get more opportunities. So hey, real quick, shout out to Matt Bergeson.
Yep.
What's up, guys? Being placed against Albright like this was intentional by Top Rank to kind of get rid of him. Did Key a favor?
Well, what Top Rank will do, I talked about it on my live stream during the fight. They will, if they feel like you're a star, they'll sign your buddy, they'll sign your brother. I made a joke. Emiliano Vargas, he keeps winning, he keeps going like this. Expect Amado Vargas and Fernando Vargas Jr. on a Top Rank show at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're both undefeated. Shout out to those two. But I think Top Rank may have now Keyshawn Davis, he looks like a legit prospect coming up in his own right. But sometimes Top Rank, I know for a fact, to build a good rapport with their stars, they'll sign guys in your gym, they'll sign your family members and give them opportunities to what Matt's asking us. Mm-hmm. But family or not, friend or not, Top Rank at some point wants to find out what they got.
Matt got a little bit more forces and for your promoter to put their time and money into your family to come in 4 pounds over, getting munchies at the event and assault a man. Excuse me. Leslie. Shame on DB3. So I'm sorry, that was mad choppy, but he's basically Matt is, acknowledging what we're gonna acknowledge in just a few minutes. The snacks at the fight, most people didn't like that, and obviously the 4 pound weight.
But they
Uh,
don't like it because it's like a rubbing your face in it moment. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be apologizing, and everyone on social media is mad at me, but I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna eat this popcorn ringside, So it's that's part of why it probably got people mad.
Give me something on Delante Tiger Johnson real quick.
Um,
So, very similar to Isley, right?
yes,
Yeah,
and I think Tiger actually talent wise has a little bit more than Isley.
I agree.
But Isley has the kind of work ethic that can make him an overachiever. But Tiger has more of a natural talent to him.
Hmm.
Got good length, good speed, good sharpness on his punches, got pop. Even if the knockout percentage isn't up there, when he rips and trusts himself, he can make things happen when he puts his punches together. And that's what Coach Brewer, who we had on the show, kept asking for. He landed his jab at will, but he from what I recall in his fight, he kept wanting to walk Bocachica into the right hand. And it's like you're fighting better, craftier professionals now. They're not just gonna give you the one step back, boom, because that's what he wanted. He wanted to just land his jab here and there,
And he
step back,
kept,
boom.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
he's not gonna give you that. I can see you want to do that. That's what so
Right.
so what Coach Brewer was asking for, that jab that you keep landing, you're not really throwing it a lot, but you keep landing it. And I know why a lot of fighters don't use the jab as much as we want these days. Growing up in the Floyd Mayweather era, whose most iconic punch is the pull right hand over the jab, guys aren't coming out doubling and tripling the jab as often as they once did, in part because of that. It's like Steph Curry's 3-point shot with the bigs in the paint. But
So it starts with the coaches, though, as we already know.
yeah,
But the coaches didn't inherit the fandom of seeing guys use the jab the way that the way that where I come from. My dad inherited the jab. My dad inherited the basics and fundamentals of boxing. Most coaches, or a lot of coaches nowadays, their foundation, respectfully to them or y'all or whatever the case may be, but the foundation is a lot of TV
mm.
and not a lot of teenager doing this, young man doing this. I fought myself and all those other kinds of things. So the jab just isn't being taught the way that it used to be taught,
Well,
and that's my problem with Delante. Tiger is too hesitant for me. Tiger is waiting too long on something that's not there.
what's up, Dick? Or is that Shaddai or is that
Yeah,
Adonai?
yeah,
Pooh Bear. What's up, Adonai? But I don't know. Yeah, Pooh Bear. But I didn't know if I should say whatever. I already said it. So, but yeah, because to your point, Sean, your dad was a diehard USA boxing disciple.
yeah,
He was a guy that hat in hand learned from his elders, would close his mouth and listen and absorb knowledge from anybody he could absorb it from. Your dad.
mhm,
So, and the USA boxing style, when your dad was learning it in the late 90s, early 2000s, the style that used to win gold medals on the regular was everything off the jab, doubling it up, and creating combinations off the jab. Not single shots, but creating combinations off the jab and side to side. Don't move left all night, don't move right all night. And fight left, right, backwards, forward when you need to, double up the jab and set up combinations off the jab. That's how you used to fight, Sean.
and that is
And
the
that's what Coach
separation.
Brewer wanted out of Tiger, I think.
Yeah, and that's the separation between what we see on TV nowadays. When you see a fighter using the jab, stepping around and things like that, Terrence Crawford, classic USA boxing fighter who has evolved into having a professional style. He's
Yep.
gonna feint, he's gonna use his feet, he's gonna throw you off rhythm, he's gonna do everything that he knows how to do. When you don't see that from somebody in the ring, you see wide hooks and stuff like that. Again, all the respect to people that teach it and do it, but those guys come from TV. Those guys were taught by somebody that watched knockouts. So the only thing they know how to teach is how to get a knockout. They don't know how to teach how to judge the range and the distance and think and those ABCs of boxing and all those sorts of things. We talk about my dad a lot today, so I'm gonna have to call him.
Yeah, those guys were great at teaching how to be first and last. And
Yeah.
it's like that right hand you want, be first, make him do something to react, and then you could punctuate the exchange. And Crawford's great at that. Boots is great at that. That's why they're having the success they're having.
Yeah. And then yes, sir. All right. And then of course we didn't get Keyshawn Davis in the main event against Edwin De Los Santos. Give me your thoughts on him not making weight.
Well, it's not good, and to say the least. And what's troubling about it is Devin Haney, for example. Before we get to Gervonta, like I was gonna mention Gervonta because he's looked upon sometimes as the problem child, the bad boy, right? But Tank, I think he only missed weight back at 130 pounds against Ferenzas on the Mayweather-McGregor undercard, and he was criticized for it. He lost his title. Ever since then, he's made weight every time he's had to. And Devin Haney, Keyshawn, if you outgrew the division, right? Keyshawn Davis really did outgrow the division, but so did Devin Haney by the time he fought Lomachenko. Devin definitely outgrew lightweight, but Devin, to his credit, boiled down to that weight limit and made the weight and fought Lomachenko at the 135 pounds. This is your first title defense. These problems shouldn't be popping up this early into a championship run, and you didn't miss it. I mean, we deservedly dragged Ryan Garcia for what he did in the Haney fight at 140. He was 143.2. You were heavier than Ryan was against Haney. So it's not a good look. Part of me didn't want to get on here and dogpile on Keyshawn, because on my own channel had a couple videos with our guy Raheem, and we kept it real about what's not good about what Keyshawn did. It's Monday now, right, Sean? And definitely everybody wants to hear what you think about it and pull no punches, but it's Monday now. Everybody's gotten their rocks off on, getting on him, deservedly so. Look, I just want
to give the fans the perspective of the fighter, and just so that everybody understands. And I know there was other things like whose fault is it, all these other things. So real quick, just from the Hall of Famers perspective, and I'm not gonna say which Hall of Famer said it, but he said you don't outgrow a weight class overnight. He's 23, 24 years old. He's too young to outgrow the weight. I said, yeah, and if he weighed in on Friday 4 pounds overweight, and he said he was working his butt off all night, that means he had to at least have been 7 pounds at least over the night before weight. You shouldn't be that far away from your weight class the night before a fight. The way I did it, I like to be going to sleep a pound or 2 pounds overweight. A little later on in my career, I would get a little lackadaisical, and I would go to sleep 3 pounds over, sleep off a pound and a half, and wake up and just do a little bit more work to get the rest off. Obviously, everybody saw that I was in jeopardy of not making weight against your Dennis Ugas. I'm gonna real quick give everybody that perspective as well, but I want to make sure that everybody understands when he's saying I outgrew the weight and I was already moving up to 140 and things like that. He quit before he quit the weigh-ins Friday. He probably quit on making weight Wednesday or Thursday.
And he expected to get his way, you think, Sean? And that because he's fighting in his hometown and he's Keyshawn and Top Rank has set up this fight that De Los Santos is going to take this check and he's going to have to fight me anyway. Tough shit.
More than likely. So here, let me get this story to everybody real quick. And you can go on YouTube and you type it in, Shawn Porter making weight against Ugas, whatever. And you can see everything play out on the YouTube. I watched it the other day. I was mind blown that they all got it, right? So listen, I was losing like a pound, like at night. And I'm used to losing more. So I was bothered. I'm mad, frustrated. I'm not gonna tell that part, but I started my protocol a little later than I should have started my protocol. I'll keep it that way, right? Thursday, and I was already only losing a pound a day, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday comes around, and it's still coming off slow. And I started to get mad. I started to get frantic. This is a true story. I started to say, I don't even care. I don't even want to make the weight. It sucks. I hate it. It hurts. I'm tired of doing this anyway. Why am I still going to 147? Every negative thing, keep that in your minds. Every negative thing you could think about making weight, I had those thoughts. This is what happens when the brain shuts down, the body shuts down. If you don't believe me, what happens to somebody who's in the hospital? When their brain shuts down, the body shuts down. Okay? So when you are in a negative place the way that I was and I shut down mentally, now real talk, I'm losing half an ounce. I'm losing 0.25 now. And I'm getting even more mad and agitated and all that kind of stuff. The morning of the weigh-in, and I had already worked my butt off on Friday night and all that kind of stuff, or Thursday night and all that kind of stuff. The morning of the weigh-in, I think I was 2 pounds over or 3 pounds over, and we went back at it. And my dad says, "Hey, this is a true story, y'all. My dad says they're gonna give us 2 hours. We're just gonna go get on scale, and then we're gonna go get the rest off." That's what my dad said to me, and he said it just like that, real calm and cool. He didn't know. In my mind, I gave up on making weight. I don't even care. I don't even want to make weight. I got on the scale. I'm like, yep, that's it. So, my dad said he said, we got 2 hours. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm going through the motions because I don't want to do it. We get in the car and we headed to the 24-hour fitness. And now my dad can see my energy. He said, yo, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. Like, he's like, do you even want to make the weight? I said, no. And he goes off. And when he goes off, I'm just sitting there, just taking it, and I don't give a damn, right? And Marcus Watson was with us. My dad said, Marcus, you better talk to your boy. Now, the rest of the ride was like 5 minutes, something like that left. Marcus talked to me the whole way, and he actually turned me on. I'm turned off of making weight. He turned me on. I go to the gym. When I'm
something about money that turned you on?
I don't even remember. It was Marcus. It was just, I think he helped me realize that I'm letting people down. You know what I mean? That's not me. Anyway, he turned me on. I start working it off and all that kind of stuff. And I actually care now until we get back to the venue. And when we get back to the venue, they wipe me off and all that kind of stuff. I get on the scale. They tell me, y'all go watch it. And I won't tell the rest of the story from here, but y'all can go watch the rest. But here's the thing. Key point. I get on the scale. They say you get one chance. I get on the scale. I'm 0.2 over. I get off. There's this big roar. It's done. It's commotion. Wipe him off some more. I get back on. 0.1 up, 0.2 over again. I get down and commotion. My dad says, Shawn, you need to take a deep breath and you need to exhale and then get on the scale. I looked at my dad. Said, I already did that. He said, no, you need to take a deep breath, let it out, and get back on the scale. It's on YouTube. I love the fact that it's on YouTube.
Oh, I tweeted it. It's a viral tweet I had. I was there, so I remember.
Took a deep breath, mentally wanted to make the weight. I took a deep breath, I got on the scale, and I made the weight. It's a mental thing. He gave up a long time ago. So here's the thing. Here's my point of all this. A lot of us have it all. A lot of us have some of it. You got some guys that's just all speed, some guys that's just all power, some guys that's got a mixture of it all that kind of stuff. But what takes you from here to here is this right here. When he doesn't make weight and he's 4 pounds over, it's right here for Keyshawn. So to your point, Zittel, I'm going to let you take over, but that's what I want to do. Keyshawn, you got to grab yourself here, man. And you got to grab yourself here in your heart. I hear you talk a lot about your faith and where you are opposed to where you could be, where you used to be. Don't lose that. Don't allow circumstances. Don't allow the moment of life. Don't let anything get in the way of what it takes to be great. And what I mean when I say that is don't allow anything to get in the way here. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, and part of me wonders too, God, or if you don't believe in God, like me and Shawn, life sometimes makes these things happen to save you from something down the road, or to teach you a lesson now when you're younger so that you can use it down the road and get to where you want to get to in life, or where you should get to in life, what your destiny is. So, I think everybody said what they've had to say about why it was disappointing by Keyshawn Davis to do this, but let's not lie either. Let's not act like his whole career is over now. I mean, again, you don't want to let him off easy. And part of me felt bad when this happened, Shawn, because when he came on the show, when he came on the couch a couple months ago, and of course we're grateful for these guys' time to come through, especially after they win a big fight. And but I felt like not that I could see this coming, that he would blow weight and get into an altercation after blowing weight, but you could feel that hubris a little bit come over him. Some of that success getting to him quickly. And part of me wishes I would have kept it real about that. Maybe that helps keep him locked in,
Yeah,
instead,
yeah, yeah.
like, oh, really? You think I'm off track? Watch me make this weight and knock out De Los Santos so I could shut you and anybody who thinks that up.
Right.
But going forward, I think that he's still got a lot of skills. If he goes up to 140, he could make a lot of big noise happen there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think he's still gonna have a bright future in boxing, but I know his promoter is gonna be pissed off. I know, and you found a way to sell out arenas in Norfolk. You got to wonder if these same people will show up the next time he's having a show there, if they'll trust him and want to come.
I gotta call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And this isn't, I'm not doing this for a click or anything like that, but when Tank takes that knee, and I don't even know if his knee actually hit the canvas, but he takes the knee and then he goes over to the corner to wipe his eyes. I said, you spoiled because hold on, Pooper. Yes. I said you spoiled. At what point are you gonna, wipe your eyes, wipe your hair, anything to prevent that? You're spoiled. You want to go to your corner and get pampered at that point. That's exactly what it was. And I'm gonna say the same thing about Keyshawn. You're spoiled. There's no way fighting in your hometown you can't make a deal with Edwin De Los Santos so that you can get in the ring and perform for your family and perform for your hometown. That's all arrogance and selfishness, which to me amounts to being spoiled. You felt like, because to me, there's no deal that couldn't have been accepted. They talking about 40%, give them the 40% and do what you do. They talking 50%, give them the 50 and do what you do.
Yep.
You got to do whatever it takes now to make this fight happen, because at the end of the day, it ain't even about the weight no more. It's about what Top Rank did for you on ESPN in your hometown, and you have to give it to them.
Your honor.
Yeah, and I really wish that these fighters had somebody who could speak that kind of sense to them to help them understand. You got to bite this bullet, big dog. This is your fault. This is our fault. This is the whole team's fault, and we gonna bite this bullet. And let's go out there and show up and show out. So the other side of everything is what happens after the fight, and we don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Like you said, it's all been said, I think, at this point. But I just, I'm kind of sad for the DB3, because I think that the way that they operate as a unit, which is beautiful, but you can't make mistakes as a unit. You know what I mean? And I hate it. That's what I hated. I hated that the unit made a mistake, not just one of them. And Keyshawn, you being the leader, even though you're not the oldest, you being the leader, you got to be the one that prevents the mistakes, not lead them.
Shawn, what do you think it is in this era, this generation of young American champions? Teofimo rubbing everyone the wrong way with the racist stuff lately. Ryan did the same in the aftermath of the Haney fight. He popped for PD, blows weight.
Hey,
Haney stock, whether it's the lawsuit or whether it's just people not feeling him, just period. They're not. His stock is down. Gervonta's had his outside the ring problems. Shakur, in some of his performances, he draws the ire of Cam and Mace and the main people that don't even watch boxing like that are critics. And then now Keyshawn does this. Why do you think this is, Shawn? What's going on?
I can't really call it.
I think it's a deeper answer than boxing. I think it's a society culture thing. Some of it too.
That was kind of what I was gonna allude to. I think that I know personally I took the responsibility myself personally to try to change the image of boxing. It is the bad boys of sports, and I've taken it upon myself personally to try to change that narrative, and I think that
Andre
there's
did
been
too.
I was
Andre
gonna say
did.
there's been tons of others who have tried to, or not intentionally. I was intentional, and I know that my boy War was intentional. And I know there's others that were intentional about it, but other guys just seem to go away from the ugly stuff and welcome the good stuff, you know. And I think that you're right. I think it's a society thing. It's a generational thing that it's like it kind of is what it is. The better you're doing, the gooder you're doing it. You know, it's like a double entendre. You know what I mean? So I don't like it. I hate it, and I hope that this wave that goes across the boxing world. I hope that these young kids, these amateurs that are seeing it, they learn from it, opposed to admiring it. I can't imagine anybody admiring what happened the other night, especially the way that it was depicted on ESPN. ESPN did their job. Um, Osuna and Bernardo and all those guys, they did their job. And I appreciated them for doing their job. A lot of times I'm like, man, why are you showing that? But I feel as if this could lead to some good for the future of boxing and boxers.
The truth
Bless you.
shall set you free. And sometimes the ugly truth has to be given so we can move accordingly to it. We can digest it, consume it. Okay, this doesn't taste good. Okay, well, if it doesn't taste good, then move accordingly thereafter.
And what do fighters do? We go back and we watch our fights
Right.
afterward. Well, I didn't, but we go back and we watch our mistakes, so on and so forth. Like, it was mind blowing to me to see that Keyshawn had to go back to get his baby. That's that's going to be everywhere. He has there's no way he won't see that and make the correction that he needs to make to prevent anything like that from ever happening again. So for those reasons, I appreciated ESPN for doing what they did.
Well, these young men are growing up in the public eye before all of us. And it's like, well, if we don't hold them accountable, then we're kind of being enablers, right? Us having a voice to speak. And so it's a fine line we're trying to walk where we're not trying to condemn them for making mistakes in their 20s. Lord knows I did, you did, Sean.
Yeah.
Maybe hell, I made a lot worse mistakes than they did at their age, and I wasn't making millions of dollars in prize fights, changing my family and my legacies. Like so,
Right.
I don't want this to come off like these young men aren't accomplishing things. They are literally with their bare hands. They're becoming millionaires and changing their whole lives and their families' lives. But if we don't keep it real, then we're being enablers, aren't we? So I would just sum up this Keyshawn Davis thing with this. They say money and success shows you who someone really is. I don't believe in my time being around Keyshawn Davis that is who he really is, or that's all he is. I don't believe that. So I look forward to him showing and proving to everybody that that's not what he's really all about. I think he's still got a bright future.
And who knows, with everything that was going on, and he's, like you say, he's out there eating the popcorn and kind of, putting in everybody's face. There's no telling what's going on in his mind mentally, emotionally, from not being able to perform that night. He made it seem like it wasn't a big deal, and I'm moving up to 140 and all that kind of stuff. But when you get a reaction to his brother losing like that, that could have been all of the energy that was
Absolutely.
everything that's going on. And
Yeah, that wasn't just his brother losing. That was the frustration of the entire week. And his brother losing, it's like it made it all hit home. And there's no escaping it now. This is real. This nightmare of a weekend is real.
I
And
never appreciated the athletes that solicited an apology, and you could tell, like, y'all told her to say that. But my man, the DB3, I think with the exception of Kelvin, they got to apologize. They got to come out. They got to right this wrong. And I think it starts verbally. Then it starts with action. But you gotta answer this bell. If you don't answer this bell, the longer it takes for you to answer this bell, the people are gonna hang this over their head for a long time. So smartest thing for them to do is answer the bell, solicit that apology, make it authentic and real, and don't put it on X in type form. You gotta do an interview or you gotta do a video, and you ain't gotta cry and all that kind of stuff. But people need to see the sincerity, and you need to remind them of who you actually are, not who you showed yourself to be. Two different things.
Yeah, Albright wants a check. Albright is like, forget charges, forget this. Can I just fight? Can I get a fight at 140 with Keyshawn? Can I get that
That's what's up.
Keyshawn Davis money instead of
That's
that
what's up.
Kelvin?
That's what's up. I'm
I don't
a
know.
little older and mature now. I'm like, well, he about to get a nice little, but he going a different route with it. You got to respect him for that. I didn't know anything about him coming into this fight, so got to respect him for that as
I mean, they
well.
kind of already have unfinished business. That their original fight became a no contest. So
Okay.
yeah, and it was a majority decision as it stood. So he was. I don't know. There's other journalists I've spoke to who are like they think us entertaining Keyshawn and Albright at 140 is like a injustice to the situation. Like we're, you know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
No, I don't. I don't.
If that's what
Boxing is
Albright wants,
boxing is usually not personal, usually,
yeah.
but every now and then it can be. And when it can be, as long as you can control the environment
Usually
until
fun
they
to
get in the
watch.
ring, it could lead to something great. So I think they should do it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So,
Give
but
me real quick. Give me something on Abdullah Mason, then we get up out of here.
not a like at first I gotta give some credit to Raymond Murataya and Ernesto Tito Mercado who blitzed Nakathia, got him up out of there quick and in devastating fashion. Abdullah's younger than those guys, but I wanted to acknowledge that. And quickly about Murataya, Raymond Murataya, can we get more of that Raymond Murataya? Because the more timid, intelligent Raymond Murataya, he did enough to win the IBF lightweight title. Actually, he got elevated to full champion with Lomachenko retiring. So, good on Raymond. But can we get the Raymond Murataya that fought Jeremia Nakathia more often? Can we get that guy? Because that guy is
Agreed.
more of a
I agree
even
with
more
that
of a problem.
100%.
But as for Abdullah, this was a good fight for him. This maybe not as spectacular as he wanted. I'll say it again. He was eating his vegetables like a disciplined young fighter, and he was just about to get to the steak and potatoes. But Nakathia wisely said, "I'm not coming out of the corner." But Abdullah's been in a way overzealous. He wants the knockout. He wants to get into the pocket and kill you with that left uppercut, and it's what's made him so exciting that he has the length and the speed and the power to, if he wants to, keep it on the outside, take his time. But this kid, early in his prospect tenure, is a knockout artist who believes in his power at 135. The young man has electricity in his fists, but in order for him to get to where he wants to get to, make a run at number one pound for pound, he's got to learn the timing, the distance, the feinting. And you saw that starting to come along in this fight. And one of the big uphill climbs he's got, Sean, is him and his whole team, is his brothers and his dad. They're learning on the job.
Right.
They don't got. They're not like Shakur and Haney and Tank, and they're not getting all the game from the Roy Jones and the Floyd Mayweathers and the Bud Crawfords. They're learning it as they go along. So that's the stuff he has to add to that great foundation he has of speed and power. And if he could develop all the feints and all the tricks and the IQ, and he's gonna be a monster. But in this fight, you saw him take some strides in that area. All Nakathia was really gonna give him was the jab. And Nakathia, being a crafty vet, the positioning with his right hand, it made Abdullah have to be honest. He couldn't get overzealous. And he showed that patience that he's learned from the Vasquez knockdowns, how to take his time. He landed the jab, then he started touching the body, and you know what was coming next. And Nakathia said, "Fuck that." So but this was valuable rounds for him. He had a veteran who made him slow down, and his defense looked better in this fight. I thought his defense took some strides. What did you think, Sean?
I mean, I'm not even going. I don't need to go into it. This was the fight that he needed, the fight that I personally have been waiting on, and what I tell y'all about on the PorterWay Podcast all the time. Fighters need fights that are going to mature them. This is a fight that matured him instantly, overnight. Working on the things they worked on in the gym, you bring it to the ring. Somebody's not giving you something, and you have to find what they are giving you. Top to bottom, I thought he did a really good job, and the patience is something that all young fighters need to learn. and we all get overzealous with our power that we some of us that we didn't know we had, others that we knew we had, and it's like, every fight's gonna go this way. When it doesn't, what do you do then? So Manny, big salute to the to the Mason family. um I thought that this was a complete performance from him against a veteran fighter. Perfect timing for him.
Sean, Abdullah, one thing that stuck out to me when I talked to him, he loves Sugar Ray Robinson. He loves studying fighters from the black and white days. And a lot of the guys that have come up recently, we talked about from Tio to Devin to Tank and now Keyshawn, they have struggled at varying degrees with the money and the success that comes with being a young champion. Do
Right.
you think Abdullah is gonna handle that better if and when we get there? Or will he struggle with it just like they did once he's a 20-something-year-old kid making millions of dollars winning belts?
I don't think it's just because he's from Cleveland, but we cut a little bit different in Cleveland, right? I see his humility. I see the fact that he wants his brothers around him. He wants his family around him. And even though he's growing at lightning speed and they aren't, he's still got them in front of him, and he still got them right next to him. And the way he moves, he doesn't move as if they're around me. He moves as if I'm with them and they with me. So I don't think that it's going to be an issue for him. I think that he's taking everything in stride the way that he's supposed to. He's even growing from that standpoint when he does his interviews and things of that nature. Very, very impressive young man. And the thing that I've been worried about for a long time is him getting to this point, being so young. So for me to see him handle Nakatani the way that he did I say that right?
No, Nakatani is who unified in Japan over the weekend. You're thinking of Nakathia.
Nakathia, excuse me.
They're gonna be mad at us for not giving Nakatani any shine, by the way.
I know.
He unified.
Listen, we coming back to y'all next week. I gots to go.
Yes.
Matt Bergerson, another support message because I'm a huge fan. Thank you, Matt. Just a few hours ago, Teo allegedly signed with PBC to have the winner of Roach versus Davis 2.
Unfortunately, I heard that might have been a troll job from inside sources, possibly near PBC.
Don't sound realistic at all. And you saying a troll job within the organization?
Maybe, allegedly. Someone over the weekend at Plant Resendez gave Teofimo this hat, and now he's wearing the hat, but it doesn't mean anything's official. Unfortunately, I was hyped. I was like, oh my God. Do you know how I know that wasn't going to happen, Sean? Because it's too good to be true. It's very simple. Very simple. If it actually sounds really good and it's boxing, it's probably not happening. Remember 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Brooks Teofimo, and I was like, probably not.
You
sure
so damn
enough.
cynical.
Huh?
You so damn cynical.
Realistic. Seasoned.
It just don't sound right to me. Don't make sense to me. And I'm at this point now where I'm like, all right, if it ain't Jake Paul and it don't make sense, then it don't make sense. So
I mean, I was like, oh man, what if Tio were to fight Gary Antoine or Alberto Puello in a unification as the co-main event? And then that's when I knew there's no way that's gonna happen, son. No way.
Crazy. Both them fights is crazy, especially Puello. That boy can thump.
I'm higher on Gary Antoine, even though Puello beat him.
Of course you are.
Gary Antoine beats him in a rematch.
Of course you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love y'all for tuning into the PorterWay Podcast. I love you, Zittel. You know that.
Love you too, brother.
I love y'all for getting us to 100,000 on our Clips channel. So if you're following the Clips channel, make sure you're following the PorterWay Podcast YouTube channel. And just keep liking and subscribing and telling other people to like and subscribe. Because obviously the next step is to get this right here to 100K as well. So the team was excited about that. So thank y'all, everybody out there for your support to the PorterWay Podcast, to Showtime Shawn Porter, to Antt with 2 T's, and of course to Sean Zittel on YouTube. Thank
and
you guys.
Andy and Carson and everyone and DDA, right? And all the guys. Our merch crew, shout out to my guy, Dane. Shout out to Dane. Yep, and everybody. Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to everybody. As it pertains to the membership, I am going to just take a look at that again. I was trying to figure some things out.
I mentioned Hafey, right? I had to mention Hafey.
Yeah,
Okay.
hey, shout out to Hafey too. I'm telling y'all right now, I got a trip to Pensacola. Going fishing with Roy. Membership pay on the membership. I'm going to sit down with Jim Lampley. The membership. I'm going to Boston and Rhode Island the same weekend to get with Mickey Ward and Vinny Paz. That's coming immediately, y'all. Before July, all that will be done and on the membership. So I want you guys to make sure that you go and join the membership. Something funny's going on. I wasn't able to find it the other day, so I'm assuming that's why y'all ain't joined it yet, because y'all can't find it either. So I'll be coming back to y'all with some very specific instructions on how to join the membership channel. But all that being said, thank you for joining the PorterWay Podcast today. Motivational message before we get out of here. You know, I said this I think this was the very last week. Yeah, I think last week I said this, and it actually shows up with DB3. I said, look around you, look at your circle of influence, and your circle of influence will determine ultimately how you become who you become. And we see that in a bad way for DB3. So I'm just going to revisit that, y'all. Take a look at your circle of influence. The things you want to do daily. Get the people around you that are either supporting you in what you're trying to do daily, or they're doing it themselves. Get a great example in front of you, and you'll be a great example for those coming behind you. This is the PorterWay.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Microsoft Theater here in downtown Los Angeles, brought to you by Shawn Porter Promotions.